Dear friends, have you ever thought about why many areas of human activity are developing in some way, while the state systems has remained the same for centuries? For example, electronics and computer technologies are actively developing at the moment, and the first sufficiently high-quality robots and artificial intelligence technologies are already appearing. But the state systems have remained the same for centuries. Strange, isn't it? But now we will tell you that promising developments are underway in this area. Imagine an almost ideal country where there would be 100% people power. There would be acme of development in all spheres of life. There would be complete order in everything. There would be no corruption. There would be practically no crime. And top civil servants were the most decent and honest people, and cared exclusively about the interests of society. Would you like to live in such a country? Now we will tell you about such a country in detail. To begin with, imagine that you suddenly woke up in the morning in a country where everything is arranged radically differently. In particular, there is no more president and parliament, and the country is governed by a more efficient means. So let's take a city or any locality. It is divided into so-called autonomies, each of which includes 6,000 apartments. Residents of every 300 apartments out of these 6,000 apartments choose a civil servant. Let's call him a first-order executive. This first-order executive is responsible and solves the problems of only those 300 apartments whose residents have chosen him. There will be 20 such first-order executives for the entire autonomy of 6,000 apartments. Next, there are 3 cells consisting of 300 apartments each, for a total of 900 apartments. The residents of these 900 apartments choose a second-order executive. A second-order executive handles documents, as well as prosecutorial and supervisory activities. There will be 7 such second-order executives for the entire autonomy of 6,000 apartments. There are 7 second-order executives who work within this autonomy of 6,000 apartments. These executives themselves choose a third-order executive for this autonomy. A third-order executive can be called a judge and the governor of the entire autonomy of 6,000 apartments. The third-order executives, who are at the same time judges and governors of the autonomy of 6,000 apartments, also choose the following executives along the chain: fourth-order executives. Moreover, the choice follows the same principle. 3 third-order executives from 3 nearby autonomies of 6,000 apartments choose 1 fourth-order executive. Fourth-order executives are essentially mayors of districts where 3 autonomies make up the district. They are responsible for the roads and the entire infrastructure of their territory from 3 autonomies, that is, their district. Next, the total number of fourth-order executives or mayors of districts is fixed. This number is divided into 3 as many times as it reaches 10 or less. 10 or less, they will already be executives of the city council. Executives of the city council are elected by fourth-order executives. Any citizen of the city can become a candidate for the executives of the city council. To do this, he must submit an application to the office of district mayors, which will be common to the whole city. The mayors of the districts consider the applications of citizens and begin to choose candidates. The city council resolves all issues related to the development of the city in all its directions and spheres. The councils of all cities of the region, province or state, elect 1 governor of the region, province or state depending on the country. The governors of all regions, provinces, or states elect their 1 representative to the state council. For example, we have 50 governors, and each of them chooses or appoints 1 executive, his representative, to the state council. Thus, in our case, the state council consists of 50 executives. They are responsible for the whole country and its development in different directions and spheres. In our case, neither the president nor the parliament are needed anymore. These executives assign leadership to various government ministries and departments. They control the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Taxes and Duties, the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Culture, the Ministry of Sports, the Ministry of Science and Education, the Ministry of Defense, and so on. The State Council of 50 executives fully manages the entire country, its domestic and foreign policy. Thus, we have a state management system based on an absolute positive selection of civil servants. That is, in the new system, only the best, most honorable, decent, and competent citizens can become civil servants, and they will primarily work in the interests of society and not in the interests of individual elite groups. In this system, society will have real power and exert pressure on civil servants if there are any actions on their part that contradict the interests of society. The most fundamental difference between our state management system and existing state systems is that all management in it is built from below, that is, not the parliament or the president, who are at the top, make decisions on the appointment of a civil servant, but all appointments and dismissals can be made from tentatively speaking below by the society of a particular region, province, or state. In fact, the entire state management hierarchy, up to the most tentatively speaking highest level, will be controlled by society. Therefore, if the society is dissatisfied with some processes in its region, province, or state, or in the country as a whole, then in our new system, it does not need to go to the barricades and organize revolutions. Society quickly, in the snap of a finger, changes from below all those civil servants who do not pursue the interests of society, engages in corruption, or violates the law, very quickly and without any revolutions. All civil servants in the new system will be well aware of this and will work only for the development and prosperity of society. In addition, the new system will have many additional safety measures. For example, the mass media will be used as a controlling social tool. Any mass media journalist will be able to launch an investigation against any civil servant if they suspect him of any corruption or other criminal acts. Any mass media journalist will have access to video and audio materials, which will be recorded in the offices of any civil servants during all their communications. If mass media journalists present 100% evidence based on these materials that a particular civil servant is involved in corruption or other criminal activities, then such journalists will be rewarded, and their mass media will receive additional funding from the state budget. Beyond that, any civil servant must sign a document upon his accession to an office, which states that if this civil servant violates the law, he will not only lose his position and go to prison, but all his close relatives will no longer be able to work in government organizations in any positions. An honest and decent person will easily sign such a document, but a person who doubts himself will not sign it. This will also be one of the elements of selection for civil servants. Also, in the record of any civil servant, which will be publicly available to all citizens via the internet, it will be indicated whether this civil servant has passed a special psychological testing. If he passed the testing, then all the data of this test will be indicated there. The person's psychological type, his qualities, the person's ability to lie, and so on. Therefore, when choosing a citizen for a certain civil servant position, the data of the psychological testing will also be taken into account by the voters. In the event that a citizen who is being elected to a certain civil servant position refuses such verification, and he can do it, it's his right, because our system does not restrict a person's freedom. However, it is unlikely that a person who has not passed such a psychological testing will be chosen by the voters. All civil servants, starting with first-order executives and ending with executives of the State Council, will receive very decent salaries, and they will be able to retire at the age of 40. This will also be an extra incentive for them to work as honestly as possible and in the interests of society. Over time, a very high moral code will develop among civil servants, which many of them will adhere to not because of the threat of losing their positions, but because of their inner high moral beliefs. It can be said that in the entire hierarchy of civil servants in the new system, A trend towards high moral standards will begin to form over time. So, let's summarize what we get at the output when realizing this new state management system in any country in the world. Full control by the society. The system is designed so that society has almost complete control over all aspects of state management. There is no president and no parliament in the system. The system of real, very elaborate people power. Decentralization. Each autonomy has its own authorities, which eventually form the highest structures of government, which allows us to pursue only the true goals and interests of society and not individual elites, as is the case now. Positive selection. The system is designed in such a way that it forms an absolutely positive selection among the elites. Only the best, most honest, most decent, high-minded, and most competent people in society get into government jobs. Direct control of the authorities. Any authorities are quickly removed from their posts by society if society sees that a person is not fully fulfilling his duties or using his powers for criminal purposes. The evolution of society. Society directly controls many aspects of state management and therefore actively develops such qualities as intelligence, wisdom, personal responsibility, ethical and moral values. Full control of the media by the society. The mass media work exclusively for the social good. It will no longer be possible to use the mass media for destructive provocations, propaganda of one kind or another, and manipulation of society itself for various destructive purposes. There is no corruption. The system is designed in such a way that corrupt people and people who abusing of power will be identified and punished very quickly, but honest and decent people will be encouraged. Low crime rate. Society will have a strong ideology of development and justice. Development and growth will be possible for everyone, and correctional facilities will be organized in a completely different way. This will lead to a significant reduction in crime. Direct control of the business entities. Since society will control all the authorities, society will also have direct levers of control over commercial companies and big corporations. All commercial companies and big corporations will only make decisions that benefit society. We cannot fit into a small video all the description and all the advantages of the new state management system developed by us, but you can read a more complete description of the system on our official website svarga.life. And now the question for you, dear viewers. Would you like to live in a country where such a system would be implemented? Where society would fully control many processes, everything would be aimed at development and constructive points, and all elements of the state would work only exclusively for the social benefit, and not the interests of individual elites? If you sincerely say yes, then join our global social movement and move forward with us together. Remember, together we are the great force. The full strategy for implementing our system in every country in the world is presented on our website, svarga.life. You can also find there how to join our global social movement and all the other information on the Svarga decentralized social management system. Join us if you want to thrive.